Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Mordy and Glory video. Today's episode will be another Quick Tip Tactica, the series where we talk about a cheeky combo or tactic that you can easily plug and play into your army lists. Now these days it seems to be taken as read that the Death Corps of Krieg are the best infantry you can get for your guard army. Everyone and their mum seems to be packing them into their army lists, and you'll often see it said on Reddit and other forums and YouTube that Death Corps Krieg are just the infantry you want to go for, and if you're taking anything else other than that. But what if I told you that Death Corps of Krieg are not the be-all and end-all of guard battle line infantry? What if I told you there was another way of getting durable troops into your list and even a slight point discount over the gas mask boys? If that has piqued your interest, then stick around as we explore the concept of the Jora Squad. And so without further ado, I think that's enough of an introduction. Let's not mess around any further and dive right into today's episode. So the big question is, what is a Jora Squad? Is it a squad that has been sponsored by Jorex? Well, maybe if they are from the pleasure planet of Riser, that would be the case. But I'm talking about durable infantry squads. And the concept is pretty straightforward. Take your basic infantry squad and try and make it much tougher, with the aim of having a unit that is focused. Its main job is to move onto objectives and lock them down, to be dug in onto that primary mission point so that you can just rack up the points for yourself and deny them to your opponent. So now that we know what the goal is, how can we achieve it? How do we build one of these durable infantry squads, Jora squads? It's very straightforward. All you need is a 20-man infantry squad, and then you attach to it a Death Corps Marshal or a platoon command squad. What both of these leaders bring to the table is a feel no pain. The Death Corps Marshal gives the entire squad that he's leading a 5+, and the platoon command squad with a medipack, which you should always take, gives the squad a 6+ feel no pain. But whilst it isn't quite as good as the 5+, obviously you do get a lot more wounds from the platoon command squad because you've got the 4 guys and the officer rather than just the Death Corps Marshal. I know some people will probably be a bit surprised by me mentioning the Death Corps Marshal. Firstly, because I don't think a lot of people realize that he can actually be attached to a standard infantry unit. He doesn't have to go with Death Corps of Krieg. He can go in your good old-fashioned, bog standard, humble infantry squad. And some people might also be like, well, Morden, you said we were not going to use Death Corps of Krieg. And that is fair enough. And I will accept any lambastation that you want to throw my way. But in my mind, I see the Death Corps Marshal as a company commander. Company commander of old. But that's if you don't want to use him because you're like, no Krieg in my army. I just don't like them. I want to use something else. I want to move away from them. I don't want to be so dependent on them. Whatever reason you might have for not wanting them in your army, that's where you would bring in the platoon command squad instead. Because both of these units cost exactly the same. And they're both adding that feel no pain and extra toughness and tankiness and, well, durability onto the unit. But I know what some of you are thinking at this point. Mordian, this just sounds like you're taking a crappier version of Death Corps of Krieg. Why wouldn't you just take the Death Corps and then you get the cool Grim Demeanor ability and you get the med pack and you get like the 3 special weapons? What is the advantage of taking an infantry squad and what can it do better than the Krieg can do? Well, firstly, it's slightly cheaper. You save 10 points taking this over the Krieg. Many of you will probably think that spending those 10 points and getting all the aforementioned bonuses is probably worth it. And I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you. But 10 points can go a long way in a guard army. You save 10 points here, 5 points there. Well, before you know it, you've turned a Lemurous Vanquisher into a Lemurous Exterminator. Well, you know it, you've turned a Leman Russ Eradicator into a Leman Russ Battle Tank. Before you know it, you've been able to upgrade one of your platoon command squads to have Grand Strategists. Saving 10 points here and there can really add up over the course of a list. And you'd be surprised how much value for money you can get out of a Guard army with those little scraplets that you accumulate. But most importantly, it's the infantry squad's datasheet ability which separates them. The Death Core Grim Demeanor boosts their damage output. They get +1 to hit when they've taken a casualty, and if they go below half strength, they get +1 to wound. Both of these are really, really good abilities, but I've always said that Guard Infantry shouldn't be focused on doing damage to the opponent, especially in 10th edition. That's a bonus. If they get anything, that's great. But really, the damage comes from your artillery and tanks. The job of the infantry is to push onto objectives, is to screen out, is to be an annoyingly durable speed bump for when those combat units come flying in and trying to chop you up. Your infantry is going to be pushing forward, slogging it out and trying to play the primary game. And the infantry squad, its ability helps it do that.
Attention Guardsmen, this is an announcement by the Departamento Militarum. Element Games is an official sponsor of the Mordianglory channel. They offer up to 20% off Warhammer 40k and 10% off bolt action and other game systems. Use the link down in the description to save money and support the channel. Anyone not using the link will be referred to the local commissariat. Also, don't forget that if you use referral code TIM3921, then you will receive double store credit, saving even more money on your future purchases. That's all for now. Fallout!
Defenders of Humanity gives the infantry squad the benefit of cover as long as they are within range of an objective marker. Now, importantly, it doesn't say wholly within range. It just says the unit needs to be within range of an objective. So if you have got one guardsman towing on to an objective out of a squad of 20, then the whole unit gets the benefit of cover. And this is quite a big deal because it means that even if your infantry unit is out in the open, completely exposed, as long as part of that squad is on an objective, you're still getting the benefit of cover. You can combine the benefit of cover with the take cover order. They both stack. One improves your armor save characteristic, and interestingly, take cover actually works in close combat as well. And the benefit of cover is its own separate thing. So you can have guardsmen out in the open with a 3-up save. You can have guardsmen with essentially power armor. And this is something that not even Krieg can do. Sure, Krieg can be in cover and have take cover, and they'll have the same effect. But a lot of tournament terrain packs now will have at least one objective that's somewhat exposed in no man's land. The last few events that I've been to, I found that the home objective at each side, that's well protected behind a big ruin. And then there'll probably be one or two in no man's land that are also protected by cover, or that you can hide in cover or round the back of a ruin and still be on it. But there's always that one that just slap bang out in the middle of nowhere. It's just there. And it's really difficult to hold that objective because whoever moves onto it is exposing themselves to a lot of enemy firepower. And you don't have that benefit of cover to keep you safe and see you through. Even on particularly dense terrain packs like WTC and UKTC, which are very common at tournaments, especially in the UK, you'll have that objective where a little bit of it's one of the ones in no man's land, and a little bit of it is behind a part of the ruin. But the vast majority of it is sticking its big ass out into the open, and you often find that you've got to move onto that objective, and you've got to spend a turn just in the open. And I've had Krieg blobs that have moved on to those exposed objectives, and they have taken an absolute rinsing. Sometimes they've been able to make it through, even if they've taken horrendous casualties, lost about 75% of the troopers in them. Sometimes they get wiped out, and that can be really tricky because sure, you've got reinforcements and you can bring them back, but then you're not holding that objective for the primary, you're not scoring the points, and your opponent has a chance to then move on and take it back. But it's not just in-game reasons why you might want to consider this tactic, why this might work for some players out there. There's a lot of real-world reasons as well. There are a lot of veteran guardsmen, longbeards, who've been playing the faction for years, and they have heavy weapon teams and they want to use them. They don't want to go out there and have to start buying a whole bunch more infantry, even if it's just getting a few sprues together and converting a few guys to have extra plasma guns and grenade launchers. They just don't want to do that. They've already put their time and money into this thing, and maybe they're just not comfortable using their infantry squads and their infantry in general now as Kriegers. Maybe you think that a Krieg model should be a Krieg model and doing anything else is kind of like a soft proxy. Maybe your guys are just your dudes and you don't collect Death Corps Krieg, you don't collect Caden Shock Troopers, you don't collect Catan Jungle Fighters. So the datasheet that you want to use, that you think is most appropriate, is that humble generic infantry squad. That represents your Vestroyans, your Mordians, your Helens. And then there's the 40k treadmill. If you already own a bunch of infantry squads, then you can use this tactic to get a bit more juice out of them and use them as essentially pseudo Kriegers, use them as Jora squads. Well, that might be able to keep you going and tick you over and allow you to hold the line and hold your own in your competitive games until inevitably the cycle continues, the treadmill moves on, and GW releases a new points update and a new rules update, or the codex comes out, and suddenly now infantry squads are the new hotness because GW wants to shift a bunch of those heavy weapon team boxes. There's so many stories of people online spending 3 or 4 months getting the army just where they want it, only for it to become out of date when GW releases a new points update. And you might just not want to get in that situation. You might just be thinking, you know what, I'm going to collect what I want. I like infantry squads. I've already got infantry squads, so we'll stick with that, and at some point they will have their time in the sun. In summary, the Jora squad gives you a slightly cheaper alternative tough block of infantry that can move onto an objective and hold it. If you are struggling to do this in your competitive games, or you play with a little bit lighter terrain, this might just be the unit that you need. It's also a great unit for those people that already have a bunch of existing models and they don't want to have to go out there and buy a bunch more just to remain competitive. Of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Do you think this idea has some merit, or is it just Death Corps of Krieg all the way? If you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget to smash that like button and also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing, truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members, so thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, and they have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a big shout out to Bon Bon Vert, Mad Larkin, Marcus Roberts, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Varney. Thank you guys so much. Your incredible generosity is a massive part of how I'm able to do Mordian Glory full time, and it is a big driving force behind the channel. But I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching, and of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.